Hello and welcome to the video coverage for the Battle for Zendikar Midnight pre-release from Griffin Games and Comics at our Fort Collins store. This is the final. Both players currently in this match are undefeated. They both won all 5 of their previous rounds. On the left we have Evan Riffe, and on the right we have Brian Bocra. Evan is playing a blue-black deck. It's focused on trying to get some early ingesters out, get some early damage with those, and then process those ingested cards for value as we get to the mid and late game, trying to generate a large creature and take over the late game with that. Brian is playing a blue-black-green deck, and his deck also has several Eldrazi in it, but more so than ingesting, his deck is focused on using Scions and then using the Scions to accelerate out his larger Eldrazi. As well of note, Bocra has both a Kiora and an Ob Nixilis in his blue-black-green deck, both of which give him large sources of card advantage, allowing him to trade off things and then win the late game with his own large Eldrazi. Throughout most of the day, Evan has been the control deck in a matchup where he can win the long, grindy game. But against Bocra's deck, he's forced into something of a beatdown role where he has to try and win before Bocra's late game can take over. Letting go from Bocra, letting go from Riffe. Two mana, you have a Cutthroat from Bocra. It's a 1/2. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, you gain a life, target player loses a life. No 2-drop from Riffe. Bocra gets in for 1. Riffe gets out to 19. Tap land from Bocra, no targets for his Mire. 3-drop from Riffe. Just looking at his options here. Play Benthic Infiltrator. It's a 1/4 with ingest that's also can't be blocked. So it's very reliable at getting in and exiling some cards, so you can process them later. Photos I get from Bocra. When it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 5 cards. You can choose up to 1 basic land from among them, reveal it, and leave it on top. Bocra chooses a swamp and leaves it there. It's almost certainly going to be ingested, but he just needed to make his land drop. And having that swamp ingested is 5. Gives Riffe a little bit less information. Swamp gets exiled. Riffe chooses not to play the Voracious Null in his hand, and instead keep up his options to play Horribly Awry, or a complete disregard if there's a creature he feels he really needs to answer. He's declining to completely disregard the Cutthroat. Horribly Awry does not answer Kiora, unfortunately for Riffe. Bocra's going to minus his Kiora, so you look at the top 4 cards, choose a creature and a land from among them, put them into his hand, and the rest of the cards into his graveyard. Taking a green lighted land and a butcher. After Riffe chooses not to completely disregard the Cutthroat at end of turn, hoping to hit something that he's more concerned about than that Cutthroat. Riffe now chooses to hit Kiora, take a counter off her rather than do a damage and get another ingest. Once again, he chooses not to play his 2-2 in order to keep up both Complete Disregard and Horribly Awry. Bocra has many options here with his large group of cards. Has to decide which he's most excited about. Battle for one with the Cutthroat. There's not a lot of reason not to do that. The Infiltrator can't be blocked in any case. And I'm plussing Kiora just to get a counter on her. He's passing the turn. He does have his Black Blighted land up, so he can force Riffe to sacrifice a creature at instant speed. Sedgecaller is a 1/1 ingest. You can pay 2 mana, get +1/+1. Bocra is going to respond by forcing Riffe to sacrifice a creature, because Bocra wants to get that Infiltrator out of there. Helps make sure it can't get Kiora down. On top of the screen there, we have the mug that the winner of this match will be receiving. Both players have come close to winning mugs on a couple of occasions, but this will be the first mug for either of them. The 1/1 there can pump and become a 2/2 if Bocra was to attack. Green Blighted land from Bocra. You can pay green 3, sack it, search his item for 2 basics, put them on the battlefield tapped. And Bocra plays the Butcher, and Riffe plays Horribly Awry. And both players, what happened here is they misread Horribly Awry. The Butcher should not have been a legal target for Horribly Awry, as it is 4 or less, and the Butcher is 5. Is a thing that happens on occasion, especially at a pre-release. Players will not remember exactly what a card does and think they know approximately what it does, and then play it that way, and neither of them realize what's happening. Bocra does minus his Kiora, losing her, but getting an additional land and creature. Bocra doesn't block here, because if he did, Riffe could pump. But without the block, there's no need for him to pump. That's one of the advantages of creatures like that, is your opponent always has to be aware that you can use the ability. So they have to make decisions based on the fact that you could do it, but then you don't actually have to do it if they don't force you to. So Riffe gets in a little bit of damage there. Looks at his options, goes ahead and lands a Skimmer. One of the Eldrazi doesn't have to do with Scions or exiling, processing, but it's just kind of a weird creature. It's a 0/4 flyer for 4 that whenever it attacks, defending player loses 2 life. So it very reliably causes that 2 points of life loss, but it can never kill another creature in combat, whether while attacking or blocking, and it can't attack a Planeswalker for any damage. If it attacks the Planeswalker, the player will still just lose 2 life. The inability that Planeswalkers could certainly matter here. Bocra plays a 1/1 that makes 2 1/1 Scions, sacks 2 of them from mana, gets 2 triggers off of his Cutthroat, so he'll gain 2 life, and Riffe will lose 2 life. Uses that 2 mana with 3 lands for his second Planeswalker of the game, in Obnixos. Minus Obnixos to kill the Skimmer, and then he attacks him for 1. He has a chump blocker for the sledge crawler here that attempts to come in and kill Ob Nixilis. I was considering if he wants to play removal spell on that 1/1 in order to then follow up with killing Ob. He does go ahead and pop it. Battles at Ob Nixilis, pumps, killing Ob Nixilis. Bocra got less value out of his Ob Nixilis than he was hoping, but it's still quite a bit of value. He got to kill the creature, forced Riffe to use a removal spell he didn't really want to. Then Bocra's going to go ahead and disregard that 1/1. Follow up with a 2/3 that comes with a 1/1 Scion. And pass back to Riffe. Draws from the turn. Sees the land. Looks at his options. Responds with a 2/3 of his own. So they both now have a 2/3 and a 1/1. Also plays a range of null, so he has a 2/2 that he can pay black 1 to sack a creature, put 2/+1 counters on it, but he can only do that anytime he can do a sorcery. So it can grow bigger, but not as a combat trick. Back to Bocra's turn. Still has a large number of cards in his hand, as well as a significant amount of mana here. Is 9 lands and a Scion. Going to get to use that to cast a Devastator Twin. It's a 10/10 for 10 that comes with an additional 10/10. So that's going to be effortful for Riffe to answer. Even if he has a target removal spell, it's only going to kill one of the 10/10s, and then he still has to deal with the other one. So back to Riffe's turn. Riffe drew Eldrazi of his own. He gets to play 9/9 for 6 if he wants, since he does have the cards in exile to process. 9/9s are very large for 6 mana, but at this point on the board, they don't match up particularly favorably with the 10/10s. He can use it plus a 1/1 to trade for a 10/10, assuming Bocra doesn't have any type of instant speed removal or trick. But even if he does that, there's still an additional 10/10 he has to worry about. After that, with just the single swamp off, there's not much we can do. Considering his options are, passes back to Bocra. Looks at the board, battles with his 2 10/10s. Riffe is down to 12, so if he takes a hit from a 10/10, he's down to 2 with the cutthroat in play. It's a really limit his options. He's going to go ahead and try and get the double block off on the 1 10/10 and chump block the other 10/10. Bocra accepts. The cutthroat will trigger. Bocra will go up in life, and Riffe will go down. And then, large pile of mana, Bocra will just go ahead and play a Kozilek's Channeler. It's a 4/4 that can tap for 2 mana. Mostly the 4/4 is what matters at this point. It's his turn. Or just switching the 10 just to make it clear what's happening. Rife looks at his cards, has no answer for the 10-10. Decides he's going to die in 2 turns, so they move on to game 2. So going to sideboarding, Bocra decides that he doesn't have any changes to make. Rife is looking at his options, has a couple of Kozilek's Channelers he could bring in, decides not to. Just bringing in just one single card, looking at, decides to cut an island for a hammer. Since he needs to be the aggressive deck here, the hammer can let him get in some early damage. The hammer's 2-mana equipment, 2 to equip. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you can return a land. If you do equip creature, it's +2/+2. Lets you do a couple of different things. So the +2/+2 is obviously a big deal. As well in this format with all the different landfall triggers that can allow you to hit landfall every turn if you don't have a land to play. If you do have a land that you're planning on playing, using its trigger is a lot more expensive because you're slowing down your mana development in order to get in that early damage. You always get to decide on a per time basis if it's worth returning the land this turn or not. Both of those keep. Swamp go from Rife. Bocra plays the tap green land again. Let's look at the top 5. Pick a basic land, leave it on top. Consults his hand to decide for sure which basic lands he wants to keep. Goes an island. Passes back to Rife. Off from Rife. To play out a 2/2 ingest, which is really where Rife wants to be in this matchup, getting in early damage as well as early ingesting, so he can try and get his processors online. No 2-drop from Bocra. Go back to Rife. So 2 damage from Bocra to 18. To ingest. Gets a large Eldrazi out of Bocra's deck. Plays a Voracious Null. One of the interesting things about ingest is that it feels very impactful, in that it changes what you were going to draw, and the thing you were going to draw you don't get to draw, but it doesn't really end up mattering directly. It's just one random card out of your deck that you now know isn't there. Bocra comes back with a 2/3, makes a 1/1. Hammer from Rife. Also has mana to equip it. Attacks. Gets his trigger. It's 4/4. Bocra verifies it doesn't have trample or anything. Looks down at his hand, considering what his line is for next turn. He wants to take 4 if he wants to try and block. He does go ahead and block with the make the block with the Scion. Battles for 2. Makes land drop with a known island in hand. Only gives all creatures -2/-2, killing both of Rife's creatures and leaving Bocra's 2/3 on the board as a 0/1. That's part of why he makes the block last turn. It's because that 1/1 would die to that anyways, so he might as well get 4 life out. Rife replays his land, but is missing blue mana, which reasonably constrained the number of spells in his deck he can cast. Kiora from Bocra is just going to plus it to give the extra counters on it. Swan from Riffe. Still no spells currently. Bocra has to consider whether he wants to plus or minus his Kiora here. She can get closer to her ult, or just get card advantage now. It goes ahead and calls some Scions, getting 2 1/1s and sack for mana. Decides to minus Kiora, getting the card advantage now. Gets a Blighted Woodland and with like a Eldrazi Devastator. She's able to play in the fairly immediate future. Island from Riffe is the best thing his deck could have drawn. In addition to giving him blue mana to play his blue spells, it's an additional land that lets him play some expensive spells in his hand. He does play the 6 mana spell, exiles the 2/3, and Bocra's currently only green source. He does have the Blighted Woodlands, which could get him green mana if he already had green mana. Back on Bocra's turn, makes the land drop. Battle for 2. And Bocra's tapping for mana and plays an 8/9. Riffe gets to play a 9/9 for 6. Has to process a couple of cards to do it. But unlike last game where there was 10/10s out, the 9/9 matches up very favorably to an 8/9. Back to Bocra. Still has large number of cards in his hand. He decides to go ahead and attack his 8/9 into the 9/9. Riffe has to assume he has some type of follow-up that will kill it, but he can't really afford to just ignore it and race. And even with a follow-up from Bocra, he's likely getting a 2-for-1 here. Does take a damage from the 1/1. Players have a bit of a discrepancy in life totals here. They get it sorted out. Thought Riffe was at 9 before the attack, but then verified that he was actually at 12. He was at 11 after that, but his 9/9 does die to get a -5/-5. Well, it has 8 damage marked on it. Another minus from Bocra. It's a Scion generator and a green source. It does have only a single blue mana, so he has to choose between casting his unblockable 1/4 or trying to hold up horribly awry. He's playing the Sledgecrawler either way. Goes in, equips the Sledgecrawler, and passes, and chooses to hold up horribly awry rather than play out his unblockable 1/4. Plays his known forest in hand and considers which of his spells to cast this turn. Taps a bunch of his mana here. still debating essentially exactly which of the spells he wants to cast. Those options: play another Satyr. Riffe goes to Horribly Riot. And then realizes that he had been playing the card wrong. He thought it was converted mana cost 4 or more, not 4 or less. It's easy to misread cards, especially at pre-release, and think you know what they do. Happens at all levels of play on occasion. But that means he does not have an answer to the second large Eldrazi. Bocra passes with his 8/9 out. Draws a complete disregard. Is doing fairly little on this board. It doesn't answer the 8/9 at all, and the 1/1 matters very little. He does have answers in his deck to the 8/9, but he needs to draw them in the fairly immediate future. Back on Bocra's turn. It's to battle with the 8/9. Riffe goes to block. The 8/9 does have trample. Upon remembering that it has trample, it's fine if he doesn't block. Bocra allows him to take back the play. So Riffe still takes 8, goes down to 3, and is in a lot of trouble from that 8/9. Bocra taps renew his land. Gets 3/3 that he can sack to give creature -2/2. Also comes Scion. Pluses the Kiora. Keeps his 8/9 back on defense and gives himself an extra mana. Alright, fires off the disregard on the best target he has available. Bocra goes ahead and sacks it to itself to kill the Sledge Crawler since it was going to die anyways. Back on Riffe's turn, he can equip to the unblockable and do 3 to Kiora, but he's gonna die to the 8/9. Goes ahead and sacks his land to draw 2 cards, shows his hand. Draws what would have been one of his answers to the 8/9 with the Scour Existence. Bocra was thinking that the hammer could be to return any number of lands and get +2/+2 for each, but it is just the one time. So Bocra could not have, was not in trouble from the hammer there. And so Brian Bocra wins the match 2-0 and is the champion of the Midnight Battle for Zendikar pre-release, winning himself a mug. He defeated out over 60 other players for that honor. Thanks for watching, and hope you join us next time.